So I'm very pleased to have Mary Spieldy here tonight and to have her help us introduce this event.
Thank you, Stan, and good evening. I want to thank you all for joining us in this beautiful sacred space, the Lane Community College Longhouse. It seems as though there's a great convergence of many important issues and actions here this evening. The writer Eudora Welty talked about confluence, and I've been thinking a lot about that idea. We often think of confluence as the meeting of two or more bodies of water. It can be where a tributary joins a large river, where two or more streams unite, or where two streams meet to become one and become a river of a new name. I think it's a really nice image to suggest where we are on a number of fronts with these important issues that we're considering today. We're also at a confluence of the past and present, bringing forward from our past the good work that acts as the foundation, honoring where we have come from, and holding the values that have made us what we are today. But as the new flows in, the new environment, the new context, the new normal, the new expectations, we are creating something new. Confluence also suggests the coming together of disciplines or values, sustainability, peace, diversity work. But the original meaning of confluence is the coming together of people. It is the idea that people adjust to meet the needs of others and evolve as they go through life. People learn from events that occur in their lives and alter the characteristics that they have. Eudora Welty wrote, "It is our inward journey that leads us through time, forward or back, seldom in a straight line, most often spiraling. Each of us is moving, changing with respect to others. As we discover, we remember. Remembering, we discover. And most intensely do we experience this when our separate journeys converge. Our living experience at those meeting points is one of the charged dramatic fields of fiction. And I would add, is one of the dramatic fields of our reality. It is in coming together that we can create our own future. And I use the word confluence intentionally. We are not at a crossroads, because that gives us very limited choices, this way or that way. A confluence allows us to bring the richness of what we are really good at as we flow into the new possibilities. A confluence gives us all kinds of choice to bring together all the right people, ideas, and resources, what is the best of us, and join up with each other and with our best thoughts and actions. And we will definitely need that to tackle the huge agenda that we've heard about today and we will hear more about this evening and tomorrow. I just want to say a few words about community colleges and our mission. The Peace Center and this symposium is an example of Meg Wheatley's observation that there is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. And Lane discovered what it cared about a few years ago when we decided to have a Peace Center. It was not one person's idea. It was a convergence of many people's ideas. It was a confluence of our values of diversity, sustainability, and learning. And given all the challenges that already facing community colleges in a climate of disinvestment, declining budget, why is it important for us to engage in sustainability and peace efforts? And the answer is a simple one. It's our mission. What sets community colleges apart from universities gives us a unique role in the higher education, sustainability, and peace movement. The idea of the triple bottom line, economy, social justice, and environment, has direct application at community colleges. And as we continue to reconceptualize and reinvent ourselves to meet community needs, sustainability and social justice and its relationship to the economy are becoming the underpinning for a rising number of our mission expressions. Besides offering universal access for the most underrepresented, the most underprepared, the poorest, and the most first-generation students, community colleges serve as a local and regional driver in our economy to provide a healthy community. Because an educated workforce fills those jobs and starts to create that healthy community. The pool of relevant practical knowledge forms part of the basis of what is needed to transition to a more sustainable society. In addition, community college serves thousands of students who transfer to universities. In his book, Ecological Literacy, David Orr wrote, "A genuine liberal arts education will foster a sense of connectedness, implicatedness, and ecological citizenship, and will provide the competence to act on such knowledge." Helping citizens develop the competence to act on such knowledge is a specialty and strength of community colleges, and certainly a specialty and strength of Lane Community College. In addition, all sustainability is local. Community colleges are deeply rooted and have extensive knowledge of and relationships with our local communities. This connection to place, as Margaret Robertson, one of our fabulous faculty, says, makes community colleges especially well suited for education, for new degree programs, and extended community services in support of sustainability objectives. Our goal is to educate students, yes, for work, but also to be empowered workers, to be activists in their community, and citizens that can deal with the unscripted problems that they face as they go through life. This is an incredible mission that is tied into the topics that we are discussing these 2 days. So that's why Lane Community College is in this work. And I would like to thank Dr. Stan Taylor and his amazing team for all the work they do to bring us together. And I would just, thank you. And I would just like to end by reading this wonderful poem by Wendell Berry called "The Vision." If we will have the wisdom to survive, to stand like slow growing trees on a ruined place, renewing, enriching it. If we make our seasons welcome here, asking not too much of earth or heaven, then a long time after we are dead, the lives our lives prepare will live here. Their houses strongly placed upon the valley sides, fields and gardens rich in the windows. The river will run clear as we will never know it, and over it, birdsong like a canopy. On the levels of the hills will be green meadows, stock bells in noon shade. On the steeps, where greed and ignorance cut down the old forest, an old forest will stand, its rich leaf fall drifting its roots. The veins of forgotten springs will have opened. Families will be singing in their fields. In the voices, they will hear a music risen out of the ground. They will take nothing from the ground they will not return, whatever the grief at parting. Memory, native to this valley, will spread over it like a grove, and memory will grow into legend, legend into song, song into sacrament. The abundance of this place, the songs of its people and its birds, will be health and wisdom and indwelling light. This is no paradisal dream. Its hardship is its possibilities. Thank you.
Many of you may know that I teach political science, and I view the work that I do as a form of activism, teaching as a form of activism. I like the quote that education is the most effective form of nonviolent resistance. If we look at the time we live in, we have to admit that it is a time of confluence and convergence. We're actually seeing a convergence of crisis. If we look at the issues of global climate change, the evidence is everywhere that it's happening around us. If we look at the nature of the economy that we live in, the evidence is everywhere that the economy itself is in crisis in fundamental ways. And at the same time that there is a convergence of crisis, there is a convergence of movements. One of the movements that is emerging now is a movement called the Global Climate Convergence. And the underlying premise of that movement is that you never will make progress on the issue of global climate change unless you simultaneously make progress on racial justice, social justice, economic justice, that the movements must converge together and be one movement. So as this symposium approached, I was fortunate to get a hold of a book edited by Kathleen Dean Moore from Oregon State University called Moral Ground, Ethical Action for a Planet in Peril. And it is a series of essays from some of the most renowned activists and writers in the world. And I'd like to read you a passage from Thomas Berry that I think embodies the spirit of this symposium and contextualizes where we are at and where we need to go. So this is called The Great Work. And he writes, "The most basic issue of our time is human-Earth relations. We have disturbed the geological structure, the chemical composition, and the biological forms of the planet in a disastrous manner with our population explosion and technological power. We have closed down the creativity of the Cenozoic era, the last 65 million years, and they're ending a chapter of geobiology and history on Earth. Earth is now in a state of recession. Its basic life systems have become disturbed, toxic, or extinguished. The tragedy is that the Cenozoic era has been a lyrical period in Earth's history. This was the period when Earth came to its full florescence. Trees, songbirds, flowers, marine life, tropical rainforest, all of these came into being during this era. It was in such a setting, and amid such awesome surroundings, that we as humans came into being and had our first primordial experience of existence. My generation has done what no previous generation could do because they lacked the technological power, and what no future generation will be able to do because the planet will never again be so beautiful or abundant. The current extinction is because has been caused by human action within a cultural tradition of biblical Christian and classical humanism. However valid, these stories no longer seem sufficient to address the issues before us. We also need a story of our past and our dream of a future ecozoic era. For this coming era must first be dreamed. Through the dream comes the guidance, energy, and endurance we will need. Articulating this full story would be the supreme achievement of modern intelligence. Then we can see that this story of the universe is in a very special manner our sacred story, the story that reveals the divine, particularly to ourselves in our times. Thomas Berry. So I just want to point out that the art that is around you on the side walls and the front walls, or the back walls, excuse me, this is art produced by Esteban Camacho Stephenson, who is a young muralist here in the audience. And the art itself is intended to be an expression of the Ecozoic era. So looking towards that future dream. So thank you for bringing that art to us. So at this point, we have a musical interlude for Good Shield Aguilar and Mignon Gelly, who are with Seventh Generation Rise. Their music is very powerful and will help to concentrate the space that we're in tonight.
play this song here. This is a song off of our Solamente CD. It's called Infinity.
The heart is wild, but the mind is tame. In our quest for something the same as the midnight sun, your journey's begun. May you stay forever young. Ooh, as we send you with love, we send you with peace, because there is no end. We're infinity, infinity. You are the light, the endless flame, and we are one. Yes, we are the same dreaming, the same breathing, and your eyes have never been so clear. Oh, as this moment here, there's nothing to fear, because there is no end until we meet again, 'cause we're infinity. As we send you with love, we send you with peace, because there is no end. We're infinity, infinity.
Thank you. This is one called 10,000 Years. Let's see, how's it go? Oh, that's not how it goes. Okay. dusk approached, as it cast its giant shadow upon the scape of the land. The sun bade good night as night prepared to settle and rest for a while. I sat to learn of night and forgive the day of its transgressions. I felt the voice of night tap at my shoulder and beckon me to listen to the wisdom of ages. My friend, night said, I have watched you for some time now, and I have seen you try to clear a troubled mind. Nothing is different than it was 10,000 years ago, yet nothing is the same. Nothing is the same. The air you breathe, I have breathed so many times before. The wind that tugs your hair, I bring along for company. And the moon that lights your face, I have studied for so many years. When one cannot see, one sees the best of all. When one cannot give, one loses the most of all. In bleak solitude, I have witnessed what no man shall ever see. But I am blind. And nothing is the same. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to end with a little story here. It's about a person and his dog. I'll make it a man this time. A man and his dog. Once there was this man. He was walking down this dirt road. Didn't really know how he had gotten there or where he was even going. And beside him was his dog. So they kept walking down that road for many miles. A couple miles down the road, he realized that dog, he'd been dead for about 20 years. So he thought, I must be dead too. So he kept walking, the man and his four-legged friend. They finally came to this fork in the road. The fork to the left was a dirt road that he had been following. The fork to the right was paved in gold. He went right, took that golden road, and followed it for many more miles, till it finally came to this big white fence, the big golden gate. And there was a man in a white robe waiting at the gate. He walked up to that man and he asked, "Excuse me, sir, but me and my friend here, we've been traveling for many miles. I was wondering if we could have some water. The man in the white robe looked at him and down at his dog, and he said, I'll have my servants bring you some at once, but I'm sorry, there's no dogs allowed here. The man looked down at his four-legged friend and back at that man in the white robe, and he asked, what do you call this place? The man in the white robe answered, this is heaven. The man looked down at his four-legged friend again and back at the man in the white robe, and he said, well, thank you, but I think we're just going to keep walking. So he turned around and walked back to that fork in the road. This time he walked left, followed that dirt road that he had been following since the beginning. He followed it for many more miles till finally it came to this orchard. Butterflies were dancing, birds were singing, and the smell of spring flowers filled the air. He walked until he came across this man sitting under a tree reading a book. He asked that man with the book, excuse me, sir, but me and my friend, we've been walking for many miles. I was wondering if we could have some water. The man with the book put his book down and smiled, and he said, oh yeah, sure. Over there by that tree, you'll see a water pump, and there should be a bowl for your friend there too. So that man walked over to that tree, and sure enough, there was a water pump. So he filled the bowl for his four-legged friend, and he drank himself till he was full. He felt very grounded, very connected, and peaceful. So he walked back to that man reading the book, and he asked, excuse me, sir, but what do you call this place? The man with the book smiled. This is heaven. And the man looked confused, and he said, but the man down the road, he said that was heaven. The man with the book laughed, and he said, oh, you must mean that place with the golden road and golden gate? Nah, that's hell. And the man asked, but doesn't it anger you that they use your name that way? The man with the book smiled and said, oh no, we're glad that they're there. They filter out all those people who would leave their best friends behind. Ooh. Thank you very much. So we will be playing at the event tomorrow, the GCC, I think it's called. So we'll be there. I think we're supposed to start at 8 o'clock. So our roots are rock, like hard rock. So we're kind of being mellow tonight. So. Well, I'm speaking for myself, maybe not for Mignon, but so we plan on rocking out tomorrow night. So anyway, thanks.